unnecessary fatalities. After all, it's been done in other animals. This is a picture of a whale spouting. The mist you see here is caused by exhalation of air from the whale's blowhole. The blowhole is really its nostrils. The whale's respiratory system is completely separate from its digestive system. This means that a whale, unlike a human, can't choke on his food by inhaling it. If God could do that for whales, I don't know why God couldn't do that for us. Now I want to go into an example that the intelligent design people use repeatedly, hoping to show that human anatomy is so complicated and so perfect that it couldn't possibly have evolved from anything simpler. The human eye. Intelligent design types say, what good is half an eye? Well, I'm going to show you what good half an eye is, as well as a quarter of an eye, an eighth of an eye, a 16th of an eye, and a whole lot less. I will also show you that there are creatures alive today that have these eyes and benefit from them. In fact, it's clear that vision has evolved separately many times in the animal kingdom. And it's clear that some animals have eyes that are actually better than ours. Which leads us to the interesting question of who does the Creator like better, us or squid? But I'll get to that later. First, let's start with the human eye. The more important features include the enclosed shape, which only allows light in through a tiny opening at the front, the lens, the optic nerve, and the light-sensitive retina at the back. That's the retina there. The retina is the place where the cells that respond to light, the photoreceptors, are located. The whole point behind having an eye is the photoreceptors. Everything else is just packaging. Here's a close-up of the retina. One odd feature of the human retina is this. The nerve fibers taking the information from the retina to the brain go in front of the photoreceptors and block some of the light. I'll get back to that later, but please notice for now where those fibers are located. Now let's look at clams. Here's a picture of an eye. It belongs to the bivalve Pecten maximus. Bivalves are all clams and their relatives. You'll see that it has a lot of the same features as the human eye. The enclosed shape, the lens, and the retina at the back, with the wiring running in front of the photoreceptors. It looks a lot like ours. Here's another eye belonging to Cardium muticum, another bivalve. It too has similar features to the human eye. But here we have Tridacna maxima, another bivalve. And look, in this case, the wiring is behind the photoreceptors. This probably means that vision in this line evolved separately from that of the others. Now things start getting really interesting. Here's an answer to the question, what good is half an eye? Here is the pinhole eye belonging to Lima squamosa. Look, no lens. This is a much simpler structure. But this eye still helps the animal to gather information about the world outside. Here's an example of even less of an eye. This is nothing more than a pit with a few photoreceptors at the back. It belongs to Arca barbata, another bivalve. Despite its obvious simplicity, it is still a visual organ. It sees. It perceives light and sends that information to the animal's nervous system. It's a lot less than half an eye, and it works. Now keep in mind, all these animals are related, and they are all alive today. So at present, all these eyes are out there doing the job that eyes do, even though some of them are a half an eye, or a quarter of an eye, or even better eyes than ours. What they have in common is that their possessors are better off with them than without them. That's the mark of evolution. Not perfection, just increased survival. Now, in case you thought that all that diversity was limited to clams, let me show you another lineup. Now you're looking at snail eyes. All these different eyes, with all their degrees of complexity, are owned by gastropods, snails and their relatives. They are much more related to one another than any of them are related to us. Here again, you can see eyes ranging from ones that are fully as complex as ours to eyes that are little more than pits with light receptors in them. Again, they all work. Pay attention now. There is not a single stage in the evolutionary process in which animals have eyes, but the eyes are too simple to work. This has been known by biologists for many decades. Why haven't the intelligent design people heard of all these animals? I suspect that it's because they spend a great deal of time advertising themselves and very little time studying zoology, where this information is freely available. So now we've addressed the issue of irreducible complexity. Let's move on to the whole notion that the human eye is so perfect that it must have been designed, and by an infallible designer at that. I say that if indeed it was designed, then the designer would get an F from any decent design class. Here's why our eyes are a case of bad design. Try to imagine a camera so poorly designed that the mechanical parts of the camera, the film spools, the wires, and so on, were between the lens and the film, so they left their shadows on all your pictures. Then imagine having to Photoshop every one of these pictures in order to have usable images. Imagine further that all the wires are routed through the film to the back of the camera so that there is a permanent hole in the film where there can be no image at all. This is the case with our eyes. This is bad design. The part of our eye that is sensitive to light, the part that is like the film in a camera, is our retina. The first bit of bad design in our retina is that there are blood vessels sitting on the surface of the retina blocking the light. A decent designer could have put those blood vessels behind the retina. The second bit of bad design is that there are nerve fibers that also sit on the surface of the retina, blocking even more light. These too could have been placed behind the retina. The third bit of bad design is that these blood vessels and nerve fibers all meet in one spot and go straight through the retina and into the optic nerve. This is like punching a hole in the film of a camera. It creates a part of our retina that is so clogged with all this paraphernalia that it cannot see at all. This is known as the blind spot or optic disc. If all these blood vessels and nerve fibers had been properly placed behind the retina in the first place, then this hole in our vision would not exist. Putting preventable blind spots into a visual system is not the sign of an infallible creator. Here's my proof in case you need it. You can find your own blind spot. Just take one of the handouts that I've distributed around the room and follow the directions. This can entertain you tonight when you're trying to go to sleep. Now let me show you pictures of why the blind spot exists. I have a number of different things here. Okay, at the top, there. That's a picture of your retina taken with an ophthalmoscope, showing the blood vessels lying on the top of the retina. This is a diagram of your retina. Notice here's the light going in, and the rods and the cones are the photoreceptors. So there you see the retina with the blood vessels and the nerves lying on top of the retina and blocking the light that should be going to the photoreceptors underneath. And then finally, here, you have the blood vessels and the nerve fibers going into the optic nerve right through the retina. What all this means is that we need more light to see with than we would if our eyes had been designed properly. It also means that your nervous system receives poor quality visual information, which then has to be processed several times before it becomes a usable image.